this is Hera. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to talk about the spooky books that I read in October. And as usual, I'll be showing you how I set up spreads in my reading journal while I talk about the books. But before we get into the spooky books, a big thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for anyone who wants to explore their creativity or learn new skills. It's a great resource even if you just want to learn more about your hobbies. Remember, not all hobbies needs to become side hustles. It's okay to just enjoy them and have fun with them. Lately, I've been trying to learn more about photography, and as someone who does all of their photos and videos on my iPhone, I've really enjoyed the class iPhone Photography: How to Take Pro Photos on Your iPhone by Dale McManus. It's been very enjoyable to learn some tips and tricks for how I can get the most out of my phone camera and apply what I learned to future vlogs, for example. The first 1,000 people to use the link in the description box will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so you can enjoy ad-free premium courses on topics that you really enjoy. Thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and now let's talk about my October reads. My reading journal is almost completely full. After October, I am now in the final black signature here, and then there will be a white one after that. I actually don't think I will fill it up completely by the end of the year, but I will get pretty close. I decided to only read spooky books in October because of Halloween and because the bookstores really tempted me with their curated spooky books tables. I didn't have the opportunity to make my reading journal spreads throughout the month this time because October was kind of unusual, which you will have seen in my previous vlog. So I made all of these spreads after I got to Japan. For the first spread, I went to a little cafe called Peddler's Coffee. It's in a little side street in Hatagaya, which is the area that I spent my first week in here. It's really cute, both the inside and the outside area, and they have both oat and soy milk, which is a huge plus. But it's been really crowded every time I've been there, so filming my video there wasn't the easiest task. Anyway, the very first book I read in October was From Below by Darcy Coates. I'd never read anything by Coates before, but apparently she writes mostly horror novels. From Below was published in June of this year, so it's very new, and I will try not to spoil anything. Basically, it follows a kind of mismatched group of people who have come together to film footage of a sunken ship for a documentary. It's eerie and feels off from the very beginning, so it's not really surprising when things start going wrong and things start happening at the bottom of the sea. To start off my spread, I got out this 2mm grid loose leaf paper that I got from Muji, and I'm cutting out rectangles that are slightly smaller than the pages of the notebook, and I'm gluing those in. I'm sure many of you are the same as me in the way that when I get some new stationery, I want to use it all the time. I'm obsessed with the tiny grid of this paper. I've never seen paper that has a 2mm grid. The smallest I've ever seen is like a 3mm dot grid, but never a 2mm grid. So anyway, I wanted to write on the paper in the spread, and it kind of creates a natural craft paper border around the area that I'll be writing on. So it's a very simple layout trick. This might be unusual behavior, but when I picked up this book at Barnes & Noble, I literally just picked up the book from the horror table and went, "Horror underwater? Diving down to sunken ships? Sounds good to me." And I just bought it. No research. I didn't even read the blurb on the back of the book. So I was not prepared for what was waiting inside of that shipwreck, and it was very spooky, very thrilling, and very enjoyable. I read this book at night after everyone in the house had gone to bed in the dark, and to not creep myself out completely, I listened to some calm but cheerful classical music in the background. This book really caught my attention from the very beginning, and I was really looking forward to the evening every day so that I could continue reading and find out what would happen. It has mystery, untrustworthy characters, diving lessons. I learned about rebreathers from this book, and suspiciously enough, I've gotten a lot of suggested internet content about cave diving after I read this book. I don't know. I also learned about corpse fat, which is gross. Anyway, this book is not for you if you have really bad claustrophobia, I think, because you can probably see it coming that a horror book set far below water in a sunken ship will have some triggering content for claustrophobic people. As you can definitely tell, the theme of my spread doesn't really correspond with the spooky vibes of the book at all, and that's kind of how I go about my reading journal. If I have a sticker sheet I want to use, I just use it. If I have a color scheme I'd like to try, I just try it, instead of trying to match my stationery to the themes of books or the themes of the book covers. Less restrictions means more freedom to be creative and to enjoy the process of making a spread without making it a huge challenge. So I actually signed up for Sticky Club for 1 month earlier this fall, and this pink and purple sticker sheet was part of the package I got. This is not sponsored by Sticky Club in any way, I just wanted to try their service for a month and see how it worked, and I was quite happy with the selection of stickers I got. Basically, you can choose between 3 different themes of sticker packs each month. There's a cute, a vintage, and a pop one, and you get a selection of 7 sticker sheets, 3 stationery pieces, and 1 storage insert. The storage insert they send with is an A5 plastic file that fits in ring binders, coincidentally exactly the same size as my ring binder, so I've been very pleased with that. I forgot to cancel my subscription after the first month. I mean, that's how they get you. So I have a second package waiting for me in Utah for whenever I go back there. It could be worse. Anyway, the September pop pack, which is the one I got, had lots of cute stickers, so I used one of the sheets for the spread, and then I used a couple of other sheets from the pack for my November cover page, which you will see towards the end of this video. There are actually so many things I want to say about this book, but it would be spoiling some stuff that really caught me by surprise when I read it. You'll have to read it yourselves, I think. If you are interested in any of the stationery that you see in this video, I will try to put links to most of it in the description box below, as long as I know where it's from. Some of the washi tapes I have received in pen pal letters, so I don't necessarily know which store you can get them in, but I will do my best to put a list in the description box below. And that's it for the spread for From Below by Darcy Coates. I would definitely like to read more of her books to see what kind of other horror stories she has come up with, because I really enjoyed From Below and it was a new setting for me. I don't think I've read any books that happens underwater most of the time. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Would recommend if you also like horror books. The next book I read was The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. I filmed this setup in a coffee shop called Verve. It's in Roppongi. Verve was bright and open and they had outlets, but the Wi-Fi didn't really work, so it might not be ideal as a workspace, but for me, who was just filming a video, it was fine. Except the tables were super wobbly, so I had to balance my phone holder on a chair. There's a lot of chaos you don't see in my videos, but you can see the shadow from my phone holder and my phone in this shot. Anyway, The Haunting of Hill House came out in 1959, so I won't worry too much about spoilers because it's been over 60 years since it came out. Some of you might recognize the title from the Netflix show, even if you haven't heard of the book. I actually didn't realize how old the book was until I started reading it, and I noticed very old-fashioned language and stuff. Once again, I kind of went into the book without reading much about it beforehand. It was just on a list of like the scariest horror books of all time. And I did look through a bunch of those lists in my search for my October reads. I have watched the Netflix show as well, so I thought I kind of knew what I was getting into, but it turns out the show is very loosely based on the book, so they can't really be compared in my opinion. They're pretty much different stories, different characters, only the house is the same, I think. So I quickly put the show out of my mind and just tried to enjoy the book as its own thing. I really wanted to read a classic haunted house story, and that's exactly what this book is. It's about a researcher inviting people to come stay at Hill House to see if there's anything to the rumors of it being haunted, Our main character, Eleanor, goes there without telling her family, which is basically just her sister and her brother-in-law. She kind of steals the car. It's made very clear that this is her first adventure on her own. My interpretation of her character is that she suffers from some kind of mental illness. She seems very paranoid and anxious all the time from the very beginning. And as the story progresses, it seems like her mental state becomes more and more unstable, but I'm kind of unsure if it's because the house is kind of possessing her or if it's because of her mental health in general. Maybe a little bit of both, I don't know. The book does a really good job of implying most of the scary stuff rather than showing it explicitly. I really like that. It makes it more scary, in my opinion. So most of the scary things that happen in the book seem like they could be both true or imagined by the characters. So it's a very subtle horror story which really keeps you on your toes. I am this way especially with horror movies. Like as soon as you can see the monster, it's not as scary anymore. It's a lot more scary if you don't know exactly what is going on. I think it's quite elegantly written. I can definitely see how it has inspired 2 movies and 1 Netflix show, although, like I said, it's only loosely based on the book. It's not even the same story. I don't often read Goodreads reviews, but for this book, I have really enjoyed reading other people's interpretations of the book, because this book is a goldmine for those who like to analyze literary works. Of course, I think it's important to not forget your own impression of the book and your own interpretation, but I found it really entertaining and enjoyable to read other people's views on this book. Some people analyze the smallest details, and sometimes it unveils a bigger image of the book that maybe you didn't see before. My theme for this spread was pretty much the same as the July cover page in my reading journal, although on craft paper background this time rather than black paper. I had a lot of stickers and washi tape and washi paper left from the Panda Valley set from Paper Monogatari by Journal Away, so I really enjoyed making a panda themed spread again. It just looked so cute. As you can see, I used the 2mm grid paper from Muji again, but this time I cut it into smaller rectangles and glued them onto random places on the page so that it would look a little bit more interesting. I also chose to write my thoughts on the book with a red pen in the spread, which I think gave it an interesting look. All in all, I would really recommend this book. I think it was very good and very spooky. I can see why it's on so many lists of the best horror books. The third book I read in October was The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas, and this spread I filmed at Streamer in Nakameguro. I went there to hang out with my friend Laura, and it was a beautiful day. I had Wi-Fi, I had power outlets, and Nakameguro is just a lovely place, so I really enjoyed it. I was actually gifted this book by Book of the Month earlier this year. If you can remember, I did a couple of sponsored videos with them, and this was one of the books that I got. And then I saw it on a list of the best spooky novels of 2022, and I just knew that this would have to be one of my October reads. It's set in Mexico just after the Mexican War of Independence, which was in the early 1800s, if I'm not mistaken. This book has so many layers to it, and I have to admit I did have to Google several phrases and words that I didn't know. I know very little about Mexico in the 1800s. I mean, I don't know much about Mexico today either, and I don't speak any Spanish, so I had to Google phrases regarding political factions and different words and phrases used to describe different kinds of people, like different skin colors or cultures or whatever. There was a lot of like societal layers there. Of course, that's a good thing because then I learned. I mean, I didn't even know what the title of the book meant at the beginning, so I definitely had a lot of Google searches, but I thoroughly enjoyed the experience of reading this book because it felt like a cultural experience as much as an entertaining experience. And the author does say that, you know, this is fiction, so you should not take it as an explanation of Mexican history or anything like that. Like, it's not a history book, so I also do take all of the like info about Mexico with a grain of salt because it is a work of fiction. The book came out earlier this year, so I will try to not spoil anything, but basically our main character Beatriz is married to a man that she barely knows against her mother's wishes, and she is taken to his home, which is where the haunted house story begins. And this book mixes folklore and superstitions with Christian beliefs and local religion. I will also say that this book is a mix between a horror story and a love story. I mean, there is definitely a love story there. A lot of the book, or a lot of the plot, I guess, is driven by this love story. And then there is that element of horror, but also many other layers of like human relations. I also really enjoyed the mystery of this novel. Like, there is a mystery at this house that our main character wants to solve. So it's also got an element of murder mystery in a way. So it's like a good mix of several genres, and I really enjoyed that. One thing I have always enjoyed when reading books ever since I was like a young teenager was mixing all these like mystic elements of religion and magic and folklore and all this stuff, and this book does this really well, so that part was very enjoyable for me. I think The Hacienda is Isabel Cañas's debut novel, which I think is really cool. I'm excited to read more from her in the future, hopefully, because I did really enjoy this. As for my decorations, I wanted to go for a very mystical and witchy theme, which was partly because I wanted to use my new stickers and partly because I thought that it fit the theme of the book. I know, very unusual for me. I just said like 5 minutes ago that I don't make my reading journal spreads according to the theme of the book. But here I am doing exactly that, so I guess it happens sometimes. Anyway, I wanted to use my new stickers. I released them in my shop late September, early October, before I closed the shop, and they sold out very quickly. So I have made more, and they will be restocked when I open the shop again, which should be very soon. I am almost done with all of my preparations. I will post here on YouTube when the shop is opened, but if you want to be completely caught up and get the news as early as possible, I recommend heading over to Instagram to follow my shop Instagram account. It's called Ikigai Papir. I will also put links in the description box. You can also sign up for the newsletter for the shop, then you'll get an email about it. I've gotten a lot of questions about when the shop will open again and why isn't it open yet, and to be honest, like, I am doing the best I can, and it's a little bit difficult to keep the shop open when my life is the way it is right now, but yeah, very soon, I promise, and there will be new stickers, so yeah. Anyway, back to this spread. You can see that I used the 2mm grid paper from Muji again here, and I basically just divided the spread into 4 columns. I used one of my purple brush pens from Ohuhu for the title, and I used an Archer and Olive acrylograph pen to give the title some highlights, basically. I am writing here with my Muji gel pen 0.5. This is my favorite pen to write with. In my reading journal, I have been using a lot of Zebra Sarasa gel pens as well, and I really like those too. But I always come back to my Muji pen, and it's cheap, it's easily accessible if you are in a country that has a Muji. Norway doesn't have one, so I stock up whenever I am somewhere that has a Muji. Obviously here in Japan, Muji is everywhere, so that's great for me. The stamps that you have seen me use on the spread are from Notebook Therapy, and then the washi tapes are, well, some of them are from Notebook Therapy and some of them are from my pen pals, so I'm not sure where they are from. But the black one and then the light, or the pink one, I guess, those are from Notebook Therapy. I really like the purple ones with the moons and the little branches on it and stuff, but I have no idea where it's from. So if you know, please let me know, because I'd love to get some more. They're really pretty. And that's pretty much it for this spread. I really enjoyed the Hacienda. I would definitely recommend it. It was very spooky and enjoyable, and it's always fun to check out new authors and books that are set in countries that you don't know very much about. At least I think so. So I started a fourth book in October, which is Pet Sematary by Stephen King. I really wanted to end October on a super scary note, but I actually still haven't finished it, so I'm going to include Pet Sematary in my November reads instead because I have about 100 pages left. I don't know, I've just been reading it really slowly. And then lastly, I had to set up my cover page for November, of course. And before I started using this notebook as my reading journal, I actually used it for some swatches, some acrylograph pens, and other things that I kind of needed both black and craft and white paper for. So I did have quite a few pages right here in this section that had stuff on them, and at first I was like, I can just skip them, but I ended up actually gluing them together so that there wouldn't be any interruption in my spreads. So we're going straight from a completely craft paper spread to a completely black one. So usually in this notebook there will be spreads that have both colors in one spread. Like here there's craft and black. This time we're going straight from craft to black. So that's the reason for that. It's not that important, but thought I'd mention it. This spread I actually filmed at the coffee table in the apartment that I'm staying in at the moment. It works fine. It's by a big window and I had to sit on the floor, but that's okay. So yeah, like I said, black pages now, straight to black from craft. Black paper is definitely a challenge for me. It's difficult to kind of see how all of my stationery that I usually use on white paper will look on black paper. So for my cover page, I decided to use some of the stickers that I got from Sticky Club, like I mentioned earlier, in the September Sticky Club Pop package. So I've used some stamps from Notebook Therapy to kind of make these frames for where I will write the names of the books, and then I just stamped those onto the 2mm grid paper from Muji because I am obsessed and I use it in every spread in this video. But really any paper will do, and you can't probably even see the grid on video. So yeah. It's really hard to know how many books I'm going to read in the coming month. It makes me think that it's maybe better to make the cover page at the end of the month when I kind of know what has happened, but it's just so exciting to set up a new cover page for the new month, you know? Anyway, I settled on 3. I read 3 books in October. November will probably be similar. I won't have any long flights or anything, but I also won't have as much time for reading. That is, if I dive into more audiobooks, maybe I will have more reading time, but yeah, we'll see. Like I mentioned, I am still finishing up Pet Sematary, so at least I know I will finish that, and then I'll try to find time to read a couple more books. I did make a little reading challenge on Goodreads for 2022, which I don't think I'll reach, but that's okay. It's just a reading challenge. It's no big deal. I don't want to take challenges too seriously, which you can probably tell because I haven't even mentioned my reading around the world challenge in the past few reading journal videos because I'm just not making progress on them. But yeah, it's all good. It's just a reading journal. It's not the end of the world. So you can see here that blue is the color that I chose for my cover page. Blue on black paper is something I don't think I've done that much in the past. So yeah, I wanted to try that. I'm using a white Archer and Olive acrylograph pen to write my November title, which is just a simple little title here at the bottom. And then the stickers I'm using, they are from Sticky Club, and I'm also using some washi tapes and some cloud stickers from Notebook Therapy. There will be links to all of these in the description box in case you want to check out any of the stationery for yourself. I do try to put a detailed description every video of anything that I have links for. I mean, I also have discount codes for a lot of the things, so yeah, I can get you some money off at least. The only other pen that I used other than the Archer & Olive acrylograph pen is a silver glittery jelly roll pen, and I really like it, and I'm really happy that it kind of matched with the rest of the stationery. Silver on black looks very nice. I mean, gold on black looks great, but silver on black, there's just something magical about it. It feels very witchy in a way. So yeah, the left page is pretty much just a cover page, so all it has is November. I did remember the title this time actually, so I think we're making progress here. In September I used similar colors, but I forgot a title. So yeah, that was fun. On the right page here, I am just kind of layering some stickers and some ephemera, and then on the top of this whole collage is where I put the little frames, which is where I will be writing the titles and the authors of the books that I read throughout November. I definitely tried to keep this collage simple, or maybe simpler than other spreads that I have made in my reading journal. I didn't know how well all of the blue would show up on the black background, but I think actually it looks really nice. Of course, the stickers have a white border around them, so they will like automatically be highlighted kind of. And then I used a white pen to kind of make some sparkles. And the most fun stickers this time around are probably these blue shiny, they're kind of metallic even, moon stickers. They have a transparent background, or rather there's no background, the sticker is transparent. It's like a pet sticker in a way, and they look really cool on the black paper actually. I definitely think they show up better on black paper than they would on white paper maybe. So I'm really happy that I used those for the spread and then combined with the other blue stickers that I got from Sticky Club in September. It's just really cool and unique, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I also really enjoyed these little star stickers that I could just put around the page and just kind of fill in the gaps with my acrylograph pen and my silver jelly roll pen. To be completely honest, I was a little bit worried that this cover page would look too much like my September cover page, but in the end I feel like they are quite different, so I am very happy with the result. I think it looks really nice, and it was a fun challenge to do blue on a black background, so I really like how it turned out. And that's it for this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you have read any of the books that I talked about in this video, let me know. If you have any other spooky book recommendations, drop them in the comments as well, because I actually quite like reading scary books. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I will be setting up my new reading journal very soon, and I'm very excited for that. It's always fun to start a new notebook. I am starting a new one in January, so stay tuned for my yearly setup of my next reading journal. Thank you again so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Make sure you check out that link in the description box to get your 1-month free trial of Skillshare. And I guess that's all for now. I hope that you're all having a lovely day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!